What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Fandalorian Club here on Apocalypse Movies. As usual, it is Jake Berlin and Brian Avalosino covering everything Andor. This week we got episode 10, the third. I don't know what is it. It's not the penultimate. What's the next to the penultimate? The second to last, I guess.
On deck.
It's in the hole technically.
Oh, in the hole. Yeah, that's right.
It's in the whole episode, episode 10. One Way Out. We finally get everything the last couple episodes have been setting us up for. We got the prison breakout. We also got some incredible scenes between Mon Mothma and Luthen as well. But let's be honest, the majority of this conversation is going to be regarding that prison breakout. We're going to talk about it from start to finish here. Brian, how you doing today, man? It's Wednesday, middle of the week. Last show for us of the week. How you doing?
Ready to step foot in Wakanda tomorrow. I'm already looking at to the next day. So, but hey, if I'm getting a Marvel movie tomorrow, the next best thing I think I could think of would be a Star Wars episode the day before, or something Star Wars day before. So, and this is a great episode to have.
It's a banger week for Disney. That is for sure. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute banger of a week. I've seen the majority of people saying it online, so I'll just say that the majority of people consider this the best episode of the series so far. There's a few that can argue and can contemplate for sure, but I think overall this might be the strongest of the batch so far. And it leaves us in a very mysterious direction at the moment. But before we kind of set up what may be coming in the final two episodes, let's talk about this one. So look, there's no real setup that needs to be done. We left last week with that incredible line by Andy Serkis's Kino Loy, no more than 12. And we obviously knew what was coming. The breakout was commencing. And boy, did we get a breakout. What a very precise, intelligent plan by Cassian and company as we see them take over the prison and eventually escape the prison. They took their time with it. It was the 100% main plot point of this episode. It probably took up about 85% of the episode, I would say. We got one good scene with Mon Mothma, and then we got a couple scenes with him, but one really good scene with Luthen. Everything else was Cassian. We got the one scene with Dedra as well, or Dedra. But that was very quick, very, very quick, just setting up Lonnie, who was eventually with Luthen. So 85, 90% of the episode was everything about Cassian, and rightfully so, because this was obviously a very big point in where Cassian kind of ends up, right? He's now heading somewhere, and he's got Melshi with him, which now we know why they are together in Rogue One. Mm-hmm. But Brian, overall, just quick kind of reaction to the episode before we dive into some specifics and things we like and may have not liked.
Not liked. I don't think there's anything. I mean, this show continues to be a masterclass in storytelling, especially in the world of Star Wars, where it tends to be flashy and science fiction-y, wild, crazy things. And this show is not really doing those things. It's not flashy. It's not force using. It's not lightsabers. It's literally just gritty, dark, bleak war. It's great. I love every second of this show. It's for it being the show that I was going, why do we need this? To now being like, this is probably the best show that they've ever put out. It's incredible.
It's arguably the best storytelling that Disney has done in live action. And I say live action because Andy will 100% correct me in saying, oh, don't forget Rebels. 100% Andy. I'm with you. That's why I clarify live action. I think so far it's the best one that they've told. And when I say best, I think that is pertaining to the fact that it feels complete. It doesn't feel kind of scattered. And The Mandalorian has been very much a complete story. It's focused on the character of Din Djarin, but at times we scatter and we jump off to stories, or we get a character this episode that we'd never meet again who seems like a very important character. Because I was thinking about it while watching the show this morning, or watching the episode this morning, and I watched it very early. I was up at 4:30, turned it on. So I got to watch it before I left for work. And I was thinking to myself, I love the fact that even if it is just a very small scene, which Sean brought it up, we got that one scene in Ferric. So thank you, Sean. We aren't just meeting characters and then these characters aren't disappearing. They're not like just off into the void when they kind of impact the story that we're watching. And a character that I can think about is Bix, right? Like Bix impacted the first 3 episodes in a very heavy way. And her story may not be connected at the moment, but it's going to come back around at some point because they keep sprinkling her in, whether it's a 5-second scene or a 5-minute scene. And the one comparison that I can make is the Widow on The Mandalorian, where she felt like a super important character, but we never saw her again, right? Like we have, at least yet, like there's a chance we can go back to her, and her story obviously lands on her planet with her children, but she felt like a character that was going to change the ways of Din Djarin, and we haven't seen her since. And that's the only comparison I can make right now. And there's been other characters here and there, but I just love the fact that we're going back to the same stories, the same people, the same worlds every single week, because it feels like a legit television show. That is what a television show is supposed to do. It's
like a movie.
Well, I mean, it feels like a movie, but a television show goes back to those stories and those characters every single week. It doesn't skip beats, or there's a time where it may look over a character and a character might be out of an episode here and there, which has happened. And I talk about that, and I'm comparing it to Mando a lot, because a lot of the time Mandalorian 100% feels like planet or villain of the week so far, right? Like we get an episode with this character here, we go to this planet there. Season 3 could very well change that. It feels like it's kind of much more on a straighter arrow, but this feels 100% like the most television series they have told so far, because it is one story from start to finish, and it's focusing on these select characters and their kind of motivations and the struggles they're dealing with, whether, like I said earlier, whether it's for 5 seconds or 5 minutes, right? Like we got a full-blown episode of Mon Mothma and what she's dealing with. In this episode, we got one scene, but it pushed her story forward. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Bix, right? Like I really appreciate that they're taking the time. And that's why now, before we didn't understand, but now it's so clear and present that is why they decided to tell 12 episodes. It's a perfect count so far. This story needed the 12 episodes to be fleshed out. If they put it into 8, it would have been way too short. If they put it into 16, it would have been way too long. Everything feels like it's there for a reason, and it's working. And so I do hope that this is like, I hope that Lucasfilm and Disney kind of look at this and be like, this is the blueprint for Star Wars television. This is what we should be doing going forward, whether it's on people we know or whether it's on something completely brand new that we've never met before. And we talked about it earlier this week a lot, but I'm really hoping the Acolyte's in this vein and not in the Mandalorian vein. I really, really hope it's like this, more so the Mando, where it's a compacted, select story rather than like a galaxy reaching thing, which I love. I love the adventure, but I really want to focus in on specific characters rather than telling 12, 15 different stories in one season.
Yeah, no, I mean, it makes perfect sense. The one that I'm curious about that I think could be like this as well as the Acolyte would be Ahsoka. I feel like that could possibly be a very...
I think that's going to be pretty separate from something like Mando for sure. I agree with you.
Yeah, I think that might be more focused.
Mm-hmm. Mando, that's a good word. Focus is a good word.
Mando does jump everywhere, while still maintaining like a singular line, but it does deviate from its path quite a bit, it seems.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this this just feels like a movie to me. I say that every single week. Never once have I felt like, oh, this was kind of like a filler episode. Not once. And we're on episode 10. Like, even the lower key episodes, it's still above, like, if we're drawing a line, like where it's fillers down here and it's like peak up here, it's sat at that line and hasn't dipped into filler at all. It just feels like every single time it's propelling all of their stories forward without having to like sacrifice pacing, other people's stories. It's continually just on target and pushing everyone's story forward. I mean,
You mean it's staying on target, Brian?
Yeah, it's absolutely staying on target. And it's I mean, look at Cinta. Like, she wasn't in it, but they made sure that you knew that she was still there. Like, I mean, it's those types of things. Like, Val probably we're probably done with her story, but they put it at an end for, like, they actually showed us like, okay, she's gonna go lay low now and blah 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 blah, and just like it's just, there's no stone left unturned in any aspect, and it's just, yeah, I'm just waiting. The one that I'm waiting to see the most is his mom. What happens with that? Because like they allude to that, and out of all the stories, that's probably the least focused, but like it's still there because they're still saying like certain things every now and then. I mean, she's probably going to go out in a blaze of glory, but
I don't know about you, Brian, but do you feel like the 2-part finale, which we're saying that we don't know if it's an exact 2-part finale, but we're kind of saying that because it's going to be a 2-arc finale, I guess I'll say. Do you think that those 2 episodes are taking place solely on Ferrix? Because I'm starting to think that now.
I mean, it would make sense.
Like, we're gonna see him find his way there, and then it's gonna all end on Ferrix for season 1.
I mean, when you look at it, the only person really that is, I mean, that's not true. Mon Mothma and Luthen are not there, but every other character revolves around Ferrix, other than Mon Mothma and Luthen, which even Luthen still kind of has his like toe in that. The only one that's like not really involved, it would be Mon Mothma. Cinta's there, Bix is there, Dedra is involved with being there. The mom is there. He's probably likely going to go back to being there. It would make the most sense to end.
I kind of feel like it's going to be his final farewell to the planet. Like, at the end of the season, he's going to have to forever say goodbye, or unfortunately, Mama bites the dust and he just never goes back.
I wouldn't be surprised if like all of his friends, including Mom, die, and that's probably like an anger thing that.
I mean, I definitely think he has some sorts of emotional connection to Bix, but I think the one thing keeping him there is definitely his mom. And if she goes, what's the point in going back? I don't think Bix is biting the dust. I think she's staying in for season 2 at least a little bit. That's just my personal opinion.
And want.
Yes, you're correct. And want. But real quick, before we get into Cassian, I want to cover one part of this episode because Andy brought it up in the chat. So I'm going to bring this up real quick. This is probably a crass way of saying it, but I never expected a part of the series to be Mon pondering the idea of having to almost whore her daughter out for her rebellion. You are very correct, Andy, and I don't think there's really any other way that you can say it. She was given a choice this episode to help further her cause, and it was going to come at the cost of her daughter. And she did say no for the time being. And I do love the way that they did do this too, because they made, and we're talking about Mon Mothma and Davos Skolden, and we had to write that down so I can remember his name, the gangster from Chandrila. And I love the idea that this guy, who is an absolute scumbag, lives in the high society customs of the planet, right? Like he looks the part, he acts the part. He's dark and dirty and has other ideas about how he should be able to do things, but he poses this question to her of like, okay, like I'll do this and I will be a part of this, but you need to give me something in return. He literally asks for the highest possible thing in return. And he didn't directly ask, which I love the way they went about it, of like him not saying, I think he even said, he's like, I'm not forcing anything. I'm not doing our customs. I just want them to meet. I just want them to meet. He's 13, about to become a man. She's 14, or maybe the other way around. And I just want to put them in front of each other and see what happens. And she's obviously completely against it because she's a mother trying to protect her own. And I get it. But I'm very curious what happens. Like, how far is she willing to go for this, right? Because we know where she ends up, and she's obviously a big part of it, and all comes into fruition. But what does she do to get there? Is this actually something that can take place and is going to be hanging over her head for existence?
I mean, she was visibly upset when that was asked of her. I mean, she asked him what else, and he was like, nope, this is what I want. And I mean, someone like her, I couldn't think of a worse thing than having a crime lord connected to your family by marriage.
And like, he knew what's Perrin? He knew Perrin too.
Yeah. So I mean, I think of like mob type stuff, like movies and shows, whatever. And there's always like, it's like once you mess with the mob, you're never really out of it. But like, if your child literally marries into the mob, you are forever gonna be connected
for life.
Like there's no like, okay, yeah, we're done, peace. Like, no, it's so like I can't think of anything like worse for someone in her position, especially being a politician. Like, it's not, you've messed with the fact that you're a politician doing this, you're using a gangster to get money, and just
Mon Mothma's not as clean and beauty as we think she may be.
Well, I mean, she's trying right now.
I mean, she could be, obviously. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, but at the moment, like, the question hangs in the balance of what is she going to do? How far is she actually willing to go? I tend to believe that because we're seeing, and the reason why I think this is because we're seeing the flip side of her. The polar opposites on the same side are Mon Mothma and Luthen, right? Luthen is clearly willing to do absolutely anything to make sure this happens. And he talked about it in that little monologue he had of he's putting Anto Krieger essentially up as bait.
Yeah.
Like, he got this information.
Of his men.
Yeah, he's putting Krieger and 50 of his men up for bait because the cause is bigger than 50 men. Mon Mothma, on the flip side, I don't think that's something that she would ever do. She would never be in that situation, obviously. But I tend to believe that she's not going to do something like that because she's the better version of Luthen. I'm not saying Luthen's like a terrible human being. He's being put in a situation where he has to make decisions. But when you put them up against one another, Mon Mothma's going to choose the righteous path, and Luthen's going to choose the one that tries the best to get it done and the quickest. And they're like polar opposites with each other, which I love seeing because they're both rebellion. They're both high up in this fight against the Empire, but we're seeing them as kind of, Ray, please stop. Jesus. We're seeing them have to make decisions that are almost similar, but who's going to kind of like rise to the occasion, right? I tend to think that's going to be Mon Mothma. I don't know. We could very much see her make a decision that, like you said, maybe puts her in with the mob or something, but I just have always pictured Mon Mothma as the one that's making the better decisions, taking the higher road. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I do think for the most part she's probably going to be making the right choice.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, in life, you can't always do the right thing and it be the easiest thing.
Can always do the right thing, Brian. Always. There is always an answer.
But that answer is
when there's a will, there's a way, Brian.
Lives.
When there's a will, there's a way.
But that answer might cost you the lives of 50 people. So she's gonna have to get some dirt on her hands and maybe even some blood at some point. She ain't gonna come out of this.
Do you think she makes this call? Do you think she puts her daughter up for grabs? If you were right now, like after watching this episode, right this second, do you think she puts her daughter up for grabs?
No, because I can't see her wanting to be attached to the mob. I think that is the biggest thing that would sway me from it, because I mean, literally how do you get rid of someone like that if your child is married to that person's son? Like, you are forever connected to that person. So I can't, I mean, like, I don't know. I don't see it. I lean heavily more towards it not being, and then I could see something stupid happen where it's like her daughter's like, how could you not let me meet him? Like,
not knowing what they are and whatnot.
Yeah, or something. And just, I don't know, but I don't think she'll do it.
We'll find out.
I think something else will be done. Not that will avoid that. Something will probably be done that's not great. Maybe even get her buddy killed or captured.
I think it's Tay.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
The banker, right? That's who you're talking about, the banker?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure it's Tay. Yeah.
I could see her making a decision, like it being something along the lines of, she says no to the gangster guy, but at the cost of her friend doing something. Maybe he'll be like, this was the only way. And then
she may already be trapped. Like, just with meeting with him, the decision might have been made. Like, and if she tries to get out of it or whatever, he could very well be like, well, I know that you're trying to do this, so now what are you going to do for me? Like, he can hang everything over her head at this moment just by meeting him. Because that's what gangsters do. That's what these types of people usually do. Star Wars gangsters might be different, but history has shown not. At this moment, he already has that over her head, and she might have been already put into a bind even by saying no. So we'll see. We'll see. Interesting comment here from Mr. Wingblade. I'll bring this up. I envision a scene where Perrin invites them over, and Mon shows up and freaks out. Then daughter gets mad because she likes him, meaning she likes the son. That's very possible. He did say that he knew Perrin. Say that he knew Perrin.
We already know something. So, like, there's a reason why they're making us not like Perrin and the daughter. Like, those two are gonna do something that you're just like, oh my god, like you just know. So that very may well.
That family is a ticking time bomb.
Yeah, 100%. I'm just waiting for that moment where I'm just like, oh my god, they're so stupid. Like, that it's coming, where you're just
100%,
just like, oh my god. So I'm just 100%. That very may well be something along those lines.
Yeah. Hello, Lewis. Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. I don't know if we've seen you in the chat or not before, but thank you so much. All right, before we get to Cassian, because that's obviously the large chunk, I do want to talk about Luthen. We got a small scene with him in his gift shop, but then the big thing that we need to talk about is him with Lonnie.
Shop.
Yeah, it's a gift shop. I'm just gonna call it a gift shop. It's
his antique shop.
It's his gift shop. We got the scene with him and Lonnie underground, which was some of the most beautiful but terrifying.
Did you hold your breath the second you saw no rails?
Yeah, 100% I did. I thought Luthen was dying. I
Literally, when the
100%
door
thought
opened,
Luthen
I
was
went,
dying.
"Oh no, there's no
Yeah.
rails."
It was such a well done sequence, but also so intense, and like this terrifying like urge just comes over you as you're watching this. And then of course Stellan Skarsgård just absolutely steals the show
Yeah,
as he's
he's
talking, and
incredible.
just putting this fear of God in Lonnie, and just showing him like, I'm like, sorry, dude. Like, this is how it's done. You're in it now. There's
You're
no
already
way
caught in
out.
the web.
Yeah, like there's no way out. You're doing this, and I'm sorry to tell you this, but sucks to suck, apparently. Um, but yeah, Stellan Skarsgård is just absolutely brilliant. He's one of my favorite additions to Star Wars in so long. Um, but Lonnie, like that character is very interesting. We mentioned up top the scene with Dedra. He was part of that scene. He made a call in that moment. And there's a reason why we saw him in that scene. And lo and behold, he's pretty much a rebellion spy at this point. Not 100% sure if he made the choice to be, or if he is essentially being trapped into be, but either way, he is one. And he gives Luthen this information about Anto Krieger and essentially it being a trap. Luthen basically says, sorry, it's got to happen. Because if it doesn't happen, then they know that something is up. And this is the call that's being made. It's either 50 men die or you die. And he putting the fear of God into Lonnie, who just had a little baby over the last year. It's just brilliant. The writing, I keep going back to the writing of the show and the choices of words.
It's
It's
incredible.
brilliant. It's incredible the way that this show is written, and the moments they choose to do these scenes, and like how important they are to everything that's going on. It is probably the quickest scene in the episode. Stellan Skarsgård doesn't have a whole lot to do in this episode, but the one scene that he does, he just drops the hammer and he steals the episode. Like it's brilliant. Luthen is so amazing. I can't wait to see what happens with him. I'm very terrified that he's going to bite the bullet in the next 2 episodes.
I'm starting to think he'll get it out of this.
He's in the crossfire right now. Like he's on Coruscant. Like something
100%.
bad can happen.
I'm starting to think that with only 2 episodes, he'll make it out of this season. Because like, if you're going to kill someone, I mean, let's figure there's probably an hour and a half left of this show, right? I mean, each episode's been about 45 minutes. And there's 2 left. With everything going on, I can't imagine they're going to kill him off in an hour and a half.
I hope
like
not.
that we have less than an hour
Really
and a half
hope not.
of him left. There just
the
seems
only
too
reason
much.
why it now creeped into my head is because that line
It's funny because I think we switched. You've been saying that you think
yes,
he'll make it out,
and the reason why
he's
is because of that
out.
line of him basically saying I've sacrificed everything, and it feels like he knows that his end is coming at some point.
Oh,
it feels
100%,
like he
it's coming.
knows. It feels like he knows that he's not going to make it to a certain point, and so he's doing everything he can to ensure that whenever he is gone, that the plan is still moving forward. And so, and the reason why I'm thinking this mostly is because of the time jumps in season 2. Like anything could happen in season 2, and there's a lot of time jumps that are happening. And I feel like to better get a like gasp and an emotional response to him dying would be in a story that's been very fluid, like it has been this season. If you were to like have 2 episodes with him 1 year and then jump a year later and then him die, I don't think you would have as much of a response as you would now having this like fluid story through season 1. But that's just my technical side thinking of everything. You know, it's just like I'm picking apart and like doing the whole just picking at everything that I'm hearing and seeing. I don't want him to die, but it's also just because we know at some point in Rogue One that he's not around, so he is gonna die.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when, and I kind of feel like it might be episode 12. Like it's like the death that happens this season going into season 2. So I don't know.
I think that my thing now is that there's an hour and a half left. There are a lot of people on Ferrix, a lot of people that we know, and I would say it's a 99% chance that he's going back to Ferrix. Hi,
Hi, bud.
And if that's the case, I would not be surprised if Dedra shows up there. I wouldn't be surprised if almost everyone from the cast goes to Ferrix by the end of this, except for maybe him and Mon Mothma. I would not be surprised if every other cast member is on Ferrix for these last 2 episodes.
And Andy could be right. He said that Marva could be the tragic death, which would make sense.
That's exactly what I think it is going to be. I think that you're going to get 2 episodes where you just get your heartstrings pulled by him being with his mom and just seeing how much he loves her and blah, blah, blah. You'll probably get some flashbacks to her finding him and stuff like that, where you just like love these 2, and then she just bites the bullet at the end. And the way that Star Wars kills off droids, I wouldn't be surprised if B2EMO is.
I don't know if we'll see him die just because we haven't seen enough of him. I think there's a chance. I wouldn't be
surprised if she freaking uses him as a explosive to blow up that building.
No, I don't think so.
That'd be brutal.
That would be terrible, Brian. What the hell?
This show is brutal.
Brutal.
So, like, I mean, I don't think there's any way that she makes it out of this season. I think he goes back to Ferrix, and you just get a lot of story of him and the mom, probably some flashbacks that pull on your heartstrings, and then she's gonna do something where she just goes out in a blaze of glory, and he's very much upset by it. And
I'm kind of with Andy in that I think she might die next week.
Maybe.
I think she might die leading into the finale, leaving him to kind of figure out a path heading into season 2. Because look, and I say all this just because season 2 is going to be like an absolute whirlwind of time jumps and storytelling and him in the rebellion.
I don't think there's going to be 12 episodes of time jumps, though. I think.
Well, no, it's from what we've been told, it's 3 episode arcs, each arc being a year. So after 3 episodes, you jump a year. After an episode, you jump
4 years.
After 3 episodes, you jump it. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's gonna be 12 years. There's only so many years before Rogue One. But I'm saying is like, you do have to kind of set him up inside the rebellion at some point. Maybe that happens the first arc of season 2. Maybe, very possible. But I kind of see it happening at the end of this. And I kind of see Marva being the reason why he eventually decides to fully join, is her death.
Well, I mean, at the same time, though, the rebellion isn't.
It's not a full-blown operation, correct?
Exactly.
It's still very much undercover.
So, I mean, well, I've already seen them say that a large portion of next season is going to be on Yavin. So I would imagine
but that's the rebellion being full blown open.
That's what I'm saying. There. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe. I mean, I could see it go 2 ways, where maybe after like the first arc, that part's established, or in some way, maybe by the end of it, they're setting up camp at the end of episode 2. Episode 12.
Question, because we do have to move on to the prison. We've been 35 minutes in the show. We haven't talked about the best part of the episode yet. Do you think by the end of the season he's in the rebellion? Part of it.
No, but I think we'll see, because in my mind the rebellion's not really made yet. It's like
part of what Mothma and Luthen and what they're all doing. Do you think he's part of it?
I think he will probably just agree in some capacity to like. That's why it makes me think that Luthen is going to survive, because I could see him being like, all right, I'm bringing you fully in on this. I need your help to start this. Because right now, Luthen wants him dead. Like, Cinta's there to kill him.
Oh, yeah. No, for sure.
So he's not wanted in the rebellion right now. He's an enemy, technically, of the rebellion. So I could see Luthen surviving and asking him to help lead it. I would not be surprised if by the end of this whole show, all 24, we realize that he's like, Andor is like, was one of the biggest key players of starting the rebellion.
I already think
surprised, but yeah,
I already think that.
So I'm talking like up there with like Mon Mothma and.
Well, I mean, we saw him in the room with Mon Mothma and Bail, and in Rogue One, he was in that room. He was allowed in that room. So I already think that he's already a major player, like for sure.
So I mean, that's why I think
I pretty much think, Brian, sorry to cut you off, but I pretty much think that he's going to take Luthen's spot in that rebellion.
Yeah, probably. And
that's like his table seat, right? That's essentially what I think is going to happen.
I agree with you, but I think that Luthen will make it out of this. I don't see a world where he hasn't like started it. Like, cause then
but it's already started.
I meant like actually forming like a base and stuff like that, because
what if it's already started?
Well, then I would assume we would know about it by 10 episodes in.
I don't think so. I don't think.
Well, I think there's a high chance. Mon Mothma clearly doesn't.
What if she's not fully into it? What if she's not fully bought in? And also, they might be needed more on Coruscant because that's the central hub of everything.
Well, he's the one that's funding the whole entire thing right now. So I don't see how. I mean, if he would have to have a whole entire thing on a whole planet, pretty much all done by him. To me, there's too much left to establish Yavin 4 before killing him off. That's just my opinion. But the prison.
Yeah, let's get to the prison. How good is Andy Serkis? How good is this dude?
Oh my god.
This dude is so phenomenal. Good. He is. We talked about when he first popped up. First of all, the unbelievableness. I don't even know if that's a word. The unbelievableness that he filmed 3 episodes and we didn't hear a single freaking peep about it is unreal. Yeah. Unreal in this time era that we live in. Thank you so much for not spoiling that, because what an absolute treat. This guy, when he is not doing motion capture, is a great actor. We talked about it last week. We talked about it the week before. He is a great actor. The way he delivers lines, just how grisly and aggressive he looks sometimes is so great, which made him, that's why he was such a great choice as Claw in the MCU. But I also I love him and Diego Luna together. The two of them together were great on screen. Their chemistry was great. Very different roles, obviously. But the prison, the sequence was incredible. It was everything I think we hoped it for to be. Everything we hoped it to be. It was precise. It was very intelligent. Every move was necessary. And it seemed it went the exact way that they all hoped, which usually doesn't happen in Star Wars. There's very few times where something goes the exact way it's supposed to.
Whenever the way that Andor needed it to.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just thought it was awesome and intense, action packed. Obviously, the action was great. And I keep mentioning how like smart it was, but the usage of the water, which we have been curious as to why he was banging away in that bathroom for the last couple episodes, and now we know. It fried all the circuits, which is so smart. Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It's one of those great prison breakout scenes that we love so much in all of television and movies. So yeah, it lived up to the hype for me for sure.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I I was holding my breath so many times, just like, oh no, like it's just so well done. Like everything is just so thought out. Like the fact that, like, I mean, we could have easily come up with like, I don't know, they shot the guy that was in charge of the floors by getting up there. No, they went like the extra way of he's going to the bathroom, breaking a pipe, there were so many layers to the prison escape, and just like combine that with like Andy Serkis. I will say it's so funny though, because it did make me really annoyed that Snoke was used more, because like now I'm sitting here like he would have been probably a dope at like antagonist probably moving forward, and you never
Well,
know.
but still,
Whatever.
like I think it's great kudos to Disney and Lucasfilm to be like, look, this guy motion captured a character. You didn't see his face, you heard his voice
Yeah.
slightly altered. Let's use him again. And it's similar to what they did with Gemma Chan when she played Minerva in Captain Marvel, and then she played Cersei in Eternals. Why not do that with some other people in Star Wars? And I was listening to Star Wars Explained earlier, and they had Alden on there, and he had mentioned I want to see Lupita Nyong'o in Star Wars now. I'm like,
Yeah, why
hell
not?
yeah, give me Lupita Nyong'o in Star Wars. She did Maz Kanata.
Absolutely.
Damn, not even close to her. Put her in Star Wars. Let's see a role where you can actually see her face and give her some work to do, because there's so many people who have motion captured or been in a suit. Simon Pegg, who played Unkar Plutt in The Force Awakens, like give them the chance. Like, sure, they were in Star Wars, but let's actually see them in Star Wars. Daniel Craig, who was a stormtrooper, put him in Star Wars. Like,
oh yeah,
there's so many people who you don't see and you just hear, that you can now do the same thing what you just did with Andy Serkis, which I think is a great idea. Like, why not recycle actors who have been in the franchise who would want to come back, who we didn't see their face? Like, it's brilliant.
Lupita Nyong'o doesn't even sound like herself as Maz.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, absolutely. He was phenomenal. And especially if you're going to use talent like that as just a voice, like there's no reason, unless you're freaking James Earl Jones, where it's like, oh, okay, yeah, that's James Earl Jones.
There's very few like recognizable voices that you'll be like, oh yeah, no, I can't do that. Can't do that.
Yeah. Like, I mean, I mean, if all of a sudden I hear that voice walking around pretending to be like a freaking, I don't know, rebel spy, I'm going to be like, that's Darth Vader. But I mean, it just makes sense. I mean,
yeah,
why not? Because clearly, I mean, if you get people like this that are turning out stuff like he did in 3 episodes, come on. Like, I mean, the actors we've had in this show play these roles. It's just mind blowing. And like you said, it's incredible that didn't get out. I mean, the way Marvel did a really good job for a long time of keeping things quiet, and now things get let out within seconds of probably them actually doing those things, and it loses a lot of the excitement and like energy you get from these like performances, and the shock value does a lot for the excitement moving forward.
And what's funny is that Marvel, a lot of the times, like in these TV shows specifically, we get cameos from people who are maybe in like one episode, very small role, but those people get leaked. And Andy Serkis was in this for 3 episodes, and we didn't hear a peep. Like, this is one thing that Star Wars has over Marvel right now, is they're keeping things quiet. And again, like, it's very small, but we also saw it in Mandalorian, right? Where we saw cameos happen. We're like, oh, we didn't know that person was in here. That's cool. They would pop up out of nowhere, right? And they're doing a great job of it. It's clear that they understand how fans will react. And Andy Serkis isn't like the greatest actor on the planet. He's not the most known actor on the planet. If someone said, "Oh yeah, it's the guy who plays Gollum," or
Yeah, if I threw him
he
in front of my
he
mom,
played
she'd be like,
Caesar.
I don't know.
Like most people would be like, "Oh, okay, I know that, but I've never seen his face. I don't really know what he does, etc." But for us, we're like, "Oh, dude, Andy Serkis, give me more of this guy. This guy rocks. I want to see
Yeah.
more of it." Again, give me the Lupita Nyong'os, give me the Simon Peggs. Andy mentioned it in the chat, but do the reverse too. Let those people do some voice work, right? We've seen Mark Hamill do tons of voice work outside of just playing Luke Skywalker. You can also do the flip side of
There's
it where,
Bulio.
yeah, like I bet you 100% Andy Serkis can do another 6 voices that you can use. Like, why
Easy.
not? Like it's
Have him be a
recycling actors
droid.
is not a bad thing. If it's for a main role, sure, don't do it. But you could easily recycle an actor, and there are thousands and millions of fans like us who would be like, "Yes, that's awesome. I'm all for it." Like, there's not a single person
Yeah.
I've seen online who said, "No, I hate having Andy Serkis in this show."
Yeah.
There's only the morons who are saying he's Snoke. That's it.
Yeah, the amount of like he didn't make it out, so the Empire captured him and they used him as I'm like, shut up.
Yeah.
Just stop.
Yeah.
Like it's
yeah.
no. But no, he's been fantastic. Make him a sassy droid. I would love that. I mean,
Well, Alan Tudyk's already good at that. Just give him another role as a sassy
I
droid.
know. I'm not saying the sassy droid of the series. I'm just saying like all the droids are sassy droids, but
he's obviously Jeff Snoke. That's great. That's great, Andy.
He was phenomenal. Diego Luna with him was phenomenal.
Diego Luna's presence on screen, like the ferocity that he has when he's doing a line, when like the beginning of the episode, when he's basically telling Andy Serkis, like, this is happening. We have to do this. Yeah. And then he goes on program and the absolute like aggression that he's able to put through that screen is unbelievable.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
The acting in this show is top tier. And to be completely honest, like, and I'm not saying this just as a Star Wars fan, like some of these performances should at least be nominated for some stuff.
I think this show gets nominated probably for an Emmy for sure.
I don't see how it's not. I mean, the only reason it would just be the bias of, oh, it's Star Wars, it's kiddie. Like Tony Gilroy wrote this more as a war epic than he did Star Wars. Like there's literally no like crazy connections that would make you think that this is Star Wars.
I mean, I'm just going to compare it just for the hell of it. WandaVision was nominated for a butt ton of Emmys, including Elizabeth Olsen, for multiple categories. There is absolutely no reason why this show can't get nominated for the same, if not similar categories, but also Diego Luna. Like, I think, and Stellan Skarsgård for that reason. Like, I think Stellan Skarsgård could probably get nominated as well. I think the show will probably get nominated for stuff like cinematography, sound design, that type of stuff. But I do believe that it could easily get nominated for Show of the Year, or Best Acting, or Best Male Actor, Best Supporting Male Actor.
That's incredible.
Like there are a lot of things that it could easily get nominated for outside of like the special effects side, which Star Wars usually gets nominated for. I don't see any reason why it can't.
Yeah, this show just needs to be the groundwork for a lot, not all of the future shows, but like a lot of them. Like, I mean, there's grounds for like Mandalorian being and doing the things it is. It would be a little bit of a different show. I think the one that really could have used this was Obi-Wan Kenobi. Like, I mean, if they would have practical effects this thing, and just, I think it could have been incredible. Because if you would have asked me, like, here's Obi-Wan Kenobi and here's Andor, which one do you think is going to get better? I would have laughed you out of the room. And I don't know about you, but Andor to me right now is way better than that show.
Oh, Andor to me is probably at the moment the best live action thing Disney's ever done.
Like, don't get me wrong. I thought Obi-Wan Kenobi was great.
Mhm.
I loved it. Reva loved
But
her
Andor's
character.
but Andor's better.
But Andor is
It's
just
just better. Yeah.
I don't even have words for it.
It's crazy to think that when we were at Star Wars Celebration this year, Brian, that we're gonna be walking out
It's
of
so funny
2020.
that you said Star Wars Celebration. I literally today was thinking about something and I was like I'm gonna look back at Star Wars Celebration. It's already been so. Oh shit, that was only this year. I literally had like a moment.
It was in May.
today.
It was in May.
Yeah, where I was like, oh my god, that was literally just months ago.
It was at the end of May too. It was like 5 months ago.
I know. Yeah.
Who would have thought that when we were sitting there at the first day of Star Wars Celebration at the Lucasfilm Showcase panel, that we would be walking out of 2022 talking only about Andor, like as the Star Wars thing this year.
Not me.
Yeah.
I was sitting at Star Wars Celebration going like, okay, this show will be cool, but like,
yeah,
show me Obi-Wan Kenobi, show me Mandalorian season 3, like all these other things where I was just like, yeah, okay, like,
yep,
I'm down. Andor will be great. I'm down for it, but like, give me all these other things. They are not doing well with daylight savings time, are they?
They are not. They are struggling. They are struggling. All right, Brian. Well, any final thoughts on the prison stuff? I know we didn't cover exactly everything. I can just flat out say that the action was awesome. The hallway fighting was really cool. Seeing his mates go at it and get into the fight was really fun. Hey, you're good.
I'm waiting for the other one to come on the other side.
Oh, she's screaming her head off over here. Yeah, I thought all of the action, the directing of the action was really cool. I thought they did it very well. I know someone asked in the chat if those were stun shots or not. Absolutely not. Those are kill shots. 100%.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, he literally like at one point like went back.
100% kill shots.
Yeah, no. They were literally hiding in a room.
Yeah, and it was
jeez.
They definitely hammered home that these prisoners had full control, and I know they said they had 5,000 of them who were running, amok in the halls and everything, and it was just very well done, just very, very, very well done. We've been waiting for this prison break for the last 2 episodes, and I can say that it lived up to the hype for sure. Like I loved every second of it.
Easily, yeah. It's incredible, this show. I mean, like you said, you've said every single week, it's a literal movie that they just cut up and are giving us pieces, because it's just every aspect is so well done. The writing is incredible. Like even just when they're having conversations and nothing is going on, you're just like completely engrossed and captivated. And it's just, I mean, this is one of the few shows where like I will put my phone down and it's not touched.
I was this morning. I loved it.
Yeah,
I loved it. It was awesome.
Like, I can say that I maybe have only done that once or twice with like a Marvel show, maybe WandaVision. That's it. But this show, it's not even a thought in my mind to like do anything other than just be completely engrossed into the storytelling.
Absolutely.
It's great. And I cannot wait to see how this first season ends. And I mean, I remember when we were sitting there going 24 episodes and
worth like, every second.
Now I'm like, crap, they're going to end this in 14 more episodes. Like it's brilliantly done. And yeah, I'm excited.
Agreed.
To see the conclusion.
Yeah, man. 2 more weeks. 2 more weeks of this, and it's going to be a bummer when it's over. But we have 2 more weeks of discussing this. We'll be here every single Wednesday. I think we've locked in a time late in the season, but 5 p.m. Pacific right here every single Wednesday, just for the next 2 weeks. And then we'll probably discuss it on, I would say now. That way we can get Jacob and Gio and Keith involved. That way they can get their thoughts out there on this show as well. And yet another week when we start after Star Wars Explained, but also end before Star Wars Explained.
Oh my God.
They are still going over there. Those super chats kill them. But hey, good for them.
I don't think they mind.
I don't think they might either. Look, to all of you who are watching us, this little channel called Apocalypse Movie, thank you guys so much. We appreciate you hanging out and talking Star Wars with us. It's always a blast seeing you guys in the chat. The
Jake,
regular
you have a new
Sergeant Andy
catchphrase
Gordon.
to end this now.
The Star Wars Explained one?
No.
Which one? What?
One
What's
Way
my
Out.
catchphrase? Oh, One Way Out. Yeah. One Way Out. I'll do that. Lewis, if you've joined us for the first time, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Gordon, Andy, Sean, Star Drew. Did I miss anybody else? Curtis, I saw pop in there as well. Anybody else who was
Gordon.
watching who didn't comment along, thank you as always. We appreciate you all. Have a great week. And again, we'll be back on Tuesday and Wednesday next week for both Apocalypse Now and the Fandalorian Club. For Brian and myself, thank you so much. May the Force be with you, and One Way Out.